Hey there, welcome to another album review here, and today I have Daft Punk, which I guess I'm on a EDM mood, so, yesterday we had Aphex Twins, which I was mispronouncing. I've been mispronouncing for a long while now, but still, we're gonna go to the first Daft Punk album. They only have 4 studio albums, but, they've definitely been very good, and Homework, their first one, is honestly no difference. I understand why people, especially listening to this album came out in 1997, by the way. Actually, I thought it had come out earlier than that, I'm gonna be honest. Like, by 1997, knowing what I know now, EDM already definitely had a lot of showings, so this wasn't, I guess, as impressive from a sound perspective, if that makes sense. Like, basically what I mean is, I used to think this was more impressive, but, having explored especially Aphex Twins, or Twin, god damn it, now, looking back, you're sort of sitting there like, yeah, maybe it's not as impressive, but then you actually listen to the album, and you stop and you think, actually, no, you know what? That is actually really impressive, because, yeah, for an album that came out in 97, the production on this album is super tight. Like, definitely it does sound different, and I think that when you first hear it, you can definitely hear that it's on the older side. But like, as soon as you get used to the sound, it's really good. Like, one of the best things that I actually love is how tight the bass especially sounds. The bass sounds incredibly tight in the entire album, and the entire production is super clean, super clean. And the thing that I love the most about Daft Punk, and especially about this album, Daft Punk aren't exactly, when it comes to EDM, they don't really have drops or anything like that, and they mostly focus on just very repeated structures, but usually the melody in them has slight differences. So, for example, let's take a song like The Funk, right, where essentially a lot of the beat is sort of the same, and then the melody is the same, but parts of the melody change as they are repeated, specifically when it comes to the way it sounds. Like, some of the notes are kind of like, and just sound different. I don't know how to explain it, because I'm not a musician, but yeah, and that just keeps the song very familiar when you're listening to it, but it also keeps the song very fresh, right? So it makes this sort of interesting, yeah, I'm familiar with the song because the song is quote-unquote very simple, but then it has that sort of interesting part to it where you're actually paying attention to it and you're listening to it and everything, and it's just overall very good, because it does really push you to not just vibe with it and enjoy it, but there's some like little details there for you to actually dig through and for you to actually pay attention. Because I think it's very easy, and it would have been very easy for them to just make, and even then it would have been great, but just repeat sections over and over without changing anything, and it would have been fine. But they do have these slight changes, these little things here and there that change in the sound specifically, which just makes everything much more enticing, much more engaging when it comes to the album. And songs like Around the World, actually, it's pretty well known. Sort of the same thing happens, and then, like, again, the thing that I really fucking loved about this album was just the way things sound. Things just sound super clean, right? And in a way, the way everything sounds is sort of these, like, simultaneously very unique, old, but futuristic. It's very, like, weird to describe how it sounds, because a lot of the things just sound very, like, obviously they sound old, but they also sound very futuristic, very modern. Like, they are incredibly clean. Again, I love the bass in this album. I think it's super great. And even the rest of the sounds. Every single sound in this album just feels engaging enough, but not offensive to your ears, if that makes sense. Because sometimes, you listen to some music and it's kind of offensive to your ears, as in, like, it actually bothers you because of the sound it's making. Nothing bothers me in this entire album. Nothing. Every single sound is a pleasure to hear, which is insane, because, you listen to the album and you're like, okay, like, how with a repetitive album, because the album is very repetitive. Obviously, a lot of the songs tend to repeat, because that's kind of the point. The point is more to focus on specifically the sound, and not so much to, make a very well structured songs or whatever. At the end of the day, it's supposed to be a dance album type thing, but it's everything just sounds so unbelievably like clean. Everything sounds super good, So I'm legitimately impressed with, because again, like, when I first came back to the album and I started listening to it, I was like, oh yeah, like it sounds a bit weird, it sounds a bit old, but then like you actually get into, that mindset of what the album has to offer, and all of a sudden you're like, actually no, this actually sounds really good, and that sort of contrast to me, it's so interesting, because there's something there, I think, when it comes to Daft Punk. I think Daft Punk, they've gotten big, not necessarily because they're very catchy, because definitely a lot of the songs do have catchy, melodies, but they're not as catchy as perhaps a lot of mainstream songs, and they're definitely not on the catchy side of, oh my god, this song is like a must listen to because it's that catchy. They're catchy more from a perspective of they sound just good, and then they sound interesting, like a lot of the songs just invite you in to sort of try and just vibe with them and sort of be in the song and be in the same registry as the song, right? Which is why I think it's so popular. Like Daft Punk, they're definitely not popular from the perspective of maybe some artists, sure, but they're definitely really popular because, yeah, this is exactly the type of music that you would just sort of put in a club, because it's so easy to vibe to, it's so easy to dance to, it's so easy to just exist to while enjoying it, which is kind of what you want from, songs that are played at the nightclub or whatever, right? So it's really interesting to go back and understand that this album might not be as impressive in terms of the types of sounds it offered, because definitely, the sounds here aren't like super unique or whatever, but then actually be super impressed at the fact that the sounds, it's not the sounds that the album has, it's how they sound that really is impressive to me. And yeah, the album is actually quite long. It has actually, at least, if you listen to the actual album, because I know that songs like Around the World, I think, that has a music video on YouTube, the original song is actually 7 minutes long, not 4. It's kind of cut because of, I guess, like a radio edit bullshit thing, and I don't like it because I prefer listening to the full songs, which I did this time. This time I actually have preemptively researched this, so I know that the song differences in terms of time length are there, or in terms of length are there. So I kind of lost my thought process there for a second, but yeah, basically, it's a very good album, and the only thing that I would say kind of pulled me off of it was the second song, which is an interlude, which I mean, people know how I don't really enjoy interludes all that much. But and the ending song. But I found the ending song is kind of like an interlude, but it's very interesting because the ending song is actually called Thank Ev, and it's pretty much the opposite of Daft Direct, which is the opening of the album. I think that was the song. It's whatever. It's like the opposite of a song that happens in the album. I'm pretty sure it's Daft Direct, but I'm not sure now. But yeah. Other than that, I think the album is incredibly solid. I really enjoyed it, and for the most part, I mean, but even then, like, something that I found really interesting was Daft Direct is the opener of the album. The interlude after that actually sounds part of the intro song. So when I first heard this, and I wasn't looking at the playlist, I only looked at the playlist after, obviously, I actually was a bit confused because I was sitting there like, wait, a 29-second song? I don't remember listening to that. And yeah, it's because the transition between the intro and into the second song, the second interlude, or not the second, it's the first interlude, the second song, it's just so smooth. It just makes it feel like it's part of the first song. And that's actually something that I really appreciated about this album. A lot of the songs, when they are back to back, actually transition incredibly smoothly, as if I was listening to the studio version. I was not listening to the live version or anything like that. I was listening to the studio version. And in the studio version, some of the songs, the way they transition to other songs, is so incredibly smooth, which is something that usually you don't hear a lot in studio versions of albums, much less in EDM ones, because, well, I mean, technically EDM ones would be more well positioned to do that, right? But even then, you don't really listen to, or you don't have a lot of that smoothness going on. And man, a lot of the songs here, this entire thing, this entire album just felt like a huge, like, live, set that someone did, like in the late 90s, you know what I mean, early 2000s, right? It sounded that solid in terms of like the vibes are immaculate. I'm sorry, the vibes for this album are completely immaculate. I was just fucking bopping my head pretty much to every song. I don't think that, sure, you have the most well-known ones like The Funk or Around the World, sure, but even then, like every other song, I was bobbing my head to. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. That a lot of the sounds were really interesting, but and yeah, that's another thing, that a lot of the sounds, especially with the synths, very interesting, and some of them, especially towards the latter half of the album, have some distortion to them. Which I was like a bit afraid, because with the AFX Twin, I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck's going on, right? I'm always like a bit worried now whenever I listen to distortion in EDM songs. But incredibly, the distortion that you hear in later songs is, again, super clean for some reason. It's actually super clean, which creates a very unique sound. Yeah, I think that's everything. I hope I'm not forgetting any. I'm probably forgetting something that I'm going to be like, oh, I forgot to mention that thing. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. So as far as my vibe meter right now, it's a 9 out of 10. Easily 9 out of 10. I'm not going to give it more because, again, I respect my vibe meter. But it's an incredibly solid album, especially once you get past the little bit of weird sound at the beginning, where things kind of do sound different and they don't generally listen to, or the sounds that you hear in this album aren't very common type thing. But as soon as you get past that, amazing fucking album, right? Just completely amazing. So that's it, and I'll see you tomorrow.